Hi, today's interview is with Andi Domjan. She's a portrait photographer working in Southern California. She reminded me the importance of a photograph. Something that I think we take for granted a lot of times, especially how easy it is, right? She gave me an interesting perspective of somebody that looks at the world so intentionally, and it was great. It was a great conversation with I had, so I hope you enjoy. So I wondered if you, as a photographer, have any tips for looking at our homes in a different way that we might be able to photograph, for portraits, or I don't know, just maybe a certain, since we're at home all day, we'll see the sun kind of move throughout the house. So I wondered if you had any tips that could help offer some, I don't know, some change it up for this time.
Yeah, actually, and I feel the same way about it. It gets so boring, and I feel like it's Groundhog Day every day. It's just the same. Everything's the same, and it's a blur. These weeks and days are getting into a blur. But I actually wish I had kids now, for one reason. Now, um, I thought, if I had kids, I would totally do these portraits to kind of create a memory of this time, because we're truly living in a historical time, and doesn't matter how long it's going to last. It's going to be something that we will talk about for a very long time. So I think I've seen it on another photographer's page many, many years ago. He was creating these family portraits that were absolutely non-traditional, totally thinking out of the box type of family portraits, when the kids were all over the place. One of them was throwing a tantrum. The other one was pouring their milk out from the bowl. The mom was like vacuum cleaning and then chatting on the iPhone with a friend at the same time. And the dad was just like losing his mind over the whole situation. And it's like such a sarcastic photo. And I love that. I'm very sarcastic normally. So if I had kids, I would totally do something. I would take their personalities and look at what they do normally when they get tired or bored. And I would just dramatize it a little bit more. And I would take a family picture that would be completely non-traditional, such as the one that I just described, as a memory for us, because my kids will ask later, right? Like, oh, what happened? Everyone's talking about that big time when the whole world stopped and we were just kids. We don't remember. Mom and dad, tell me. And I would do that. And I might still do it with my husband and my two cats. Like the cats just, running around like crazy. My husband's on the couch eating popcorn, watching Netflix, like something that truly reflects this time. So you can just look at your living room as a blank canvas and create something out of it.
Yeah, I think it's a good point that this isn't something that you can do just because you're a photographer and this is how you make your living. That anybody that has any quality level of camera can do the same thing. It's because it's not about that. It's about capturing this time and making this moment special. And like you said, based upon the personality of each individual. I really like that. You mentioned that a huge part of your job is directing people, and it's not just like pushing a button. I think that's the assumption that a lot of people make. But do you have some pictures that we can look at? Some examples of things that pictures that you really liked, or photographs that you really that you want to talk about?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. I have a lot. It's really hard to narrow them down,
Right.
but
Try to narrow it down.
one of my pictures that I'm actually proud of is so surprising, because I'm a portrait photographer, and one of my favorite images I've ever taken is a product image. The bottle inspired me. I was like, I gotta find a way to take a beautiful picture of this bottle. And what's unique about it, I think, is that it's not one image. People think that, oh, how did you take this photo? Well, it's actually 7 different images stitched together in Photoshop. I think I spent in Photoshop about 5 hours purely to stitch it together, to color it, to make it look right. So I'm very proud of that. And I think that completely reflects the job of a photographer. It's not just about clicking. That's like the end photo that you see is usually the top of the iceberg. And there's so much going into it, from planning to lighting, executing the photo shoot, editing. It's so much more than that. So photographers just clicking, that's a myth.
Right. I think you're touching on something that I know very well as a videographer, that just because you shot it this way doesn't mean that that's the way that it has to stay. And a lot of the story gets told in the editing room.
I feel like people should understand that when they choose a photographer and they go and trust that photographer with their pictures being taken, they should trust the photographer and let the photographer do what they are best at, which is giving direction. Like, they choose me for a reason, right? So they need to trust me that I know what I'm doing and I will find that perfect angle for them. And they don't have to do anything else but to listen to what I say and do it. And that's why I actually moved on from babies to adults, because I just did that for so long that I burned out of bribing my clients and bribing my models to do what I'd like them to do. We did that all the time with babies. So the next photo, by the way, what I wanted to bring up is one of my favorite photo shoots ever. It was for the cover of a local magazine that I work with. And what I like about that, and that also kind of goes back to the thought of, the iceberg thing, that what you see is the tip of the iceberg. I have actually a behind the scenes photo for you that shows how many people work on one single image. And I don't think we have everyone in the picture, but it really takes the village to get a vision become reality. And it was a super fun shoot. We drove out to Palm Springs. It's a pink house in the middle of the desert for bachelorette parties. And we went for a Barbie look for this girl. And
what was the theme of the issue?
This girl, her name is Candy Johnson. The theme was beauty, Candy's personality that is super bubbly and pink, and just like these photos, this is super Candy-ish. And she had this really, really bright blonde hair, and we were in this pink house. So it was kind of obvious that we're going to go for the Barbie theme. She's like the living Barbie.
That's cool. So on the other hand, this is working with another client, right? You're outside of the studio, but you also do work inside your studio. You have your own studio. Can you talk about balancing the personalities and what it takes to do that? I know you have a photo here for us too, right?
Yes. The third photo, this picture was taken of my mom, and it was taken 5 years ago in my studio.
Awesome.
And it was back home in Budapest, Hungary. And the story of this photo is that I've been wanting my mom in my studio. I've been wanting my whole family to come to the studio, and I forced them to do it. But I also wanted to take separate portraits. And she came up with all the excuses you can imagine. I hear this all the time. Oh, I need to get my hair done. I need to get my eyebrows done. I need to lose weight. By the way, that never happens. Losing weight, that just really is an excuse that never, ever happens.
They just don't ever want to do it.
It really is just an excuse. I've had people postpone their sessions because they wanted to lose more weight. And anyways, so my mom came up with the same old excuses. And I said, Mom, I don't care. I only see my beautiful mom when I look at you, and I want to have beautiful images of you. So she said, okay, fine. So she came in, I invited my hair and makeup artist. She did her hand makeup, and I did the photo shoot with her. It was super fun. She had a lot of fun. We played dress up. She picked some outfits. Like you can see behind me, I have a lot of outfits that I've collected. I have this in my studio because us women, we love playing dress up, and they are all different sizes. If we find something that fits my clients and they want to try it on, great. It's really fun. So I did the same thing with my mom. I wanted her to have this experience, specifically so because she was always so hard on herself. She would always pick herself apart and criticize her nose, her lips, her eyes, her hair, everything. And I wanted to show her how beautiful she truly was. And it worked. She loved the pictures. She got a lot of compliments, and she was super happy with them. And I am super happy to have these images, because little did we know back then that my mom would be diagnosed with a horrible brain tumor a couple of years later. And actually, she ended up passing away 6 months ago. So the message of this, and the reason why I wanted to bring up this photo, even though my heart is pounding faster as I'm talking about it, It's super emotional, but the point is that people need to exist in photographs. They need to exist in photographs for themselves and for their families, for their grandchildren and great grandchildren. Because one day your great grandchildren will look for these images of you, and what will they find? And I wanted to have beautiful quality portraits of my mom that is not an iPhone picture, that is not her in her sweats, sitting next to a bowl of soup that she just cooked. Those are great too. We have to have those images too. But I wanted something really nice, and I have it. And whenever I look at this picture, I remember the person that she always used to be. And it helps me remember her instead of that person that she became after learning that she was terminally ill. And then, people are not the same after a diagnosis like that. So I say, don't wait. We have today guaranteed. That's great. Get in front of the camera, get pictures taken with your family, with your children, with your parents. And it doesn't matter how old you are. One of my favorite genre is mothers and daughters, mothers and sons who are not babies. Like, I don't care if they are grown ups. They need to have these beautiful family portraits. And it's so rare that we get in front of the camera, and we have to work on that. We have to do it. And I wanted to bring this picture and remind myself too, and everyone, for this very important thing. We have to exist in photographs.
I think you are touching on something that a photographer has, an insight that photographer has that a lot of people don't, right? Because when we look at photographs of ourselves, we say, here are all my imperfections. And not that we don't see them, right? I think that given the circumstance, we're able to take those things and maybe soften them or not highlight them as much, and allow people to see whoever the subject is in a way, like you're saying, that's really going to hold some of the essence of who they are, or bring a memory back to life. That's something that you're offering that you don't get from, a selfie of yourself, or something where the person is trying their very hardest to pose to look their best. Oh, I got to lose a little bit more weight or whatever. It's like, I think you have a lot of insight in that sense. I like that. Well, Andi, thank you so much for joining us. Where can people follow you, find out more about you and what you're offering?
I have a website address that is easier to remember. It's OC, as in Orange County, ocportrait.com. So that's where people can look at my work and they can get in touch with me. Or through my Facebook site. My name is Andrea Domjan, Domjan, and my Facebook page is Andrea Domjan Photography. Probably my website is easier to remember.
No, that's perfect. Thank you so much. We'll look forward to, seeing you again.
Thank you so much, Ian, for having me. Take care of yourself.